Well, greetings, everyone. This is another episode of Candid Conversations with Chenille. If you had an opportunity to be a part of our last live stream, you know that we were blessed beyond measure. Pastor Dave brought us some valuable nuggets that we all can live on and grow on. And guess what? He is back tonight to add to our wisdom and our knowledge. I am so excited for part two of Men Cry Differently. And just like our last episode, this episode is going to be just as amazing, just as enlightening as the last. So tonight we have with us again Pastor Dave. Thank you for joining us by high demand. You were in high demand, sir. I received so many valuable comments, and the ladies as well as gentlemen reached out to me to just talk about how blessed they were by the last segment of Men Cry Differently. So we have no less of an expectation on tonight, and I trust and believe that we are going to have some great discussion. And as it did last time, it will continue to add to our knowledge as women and to also better and empower the men. And my prayer is that the men will be heard through you, Pastor Dave. So, well, let's dive on in. And so last month, we talked a little bit about disrespect. It was one of the things that you said that was very key, when we talked about what is one of the things that a woman could do that basically could ruin that relationship, and you talked about disrespect.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit more, because a lot of times disrespect goes beyond just, the eyes rolling and the head bobbing and the, two snaps and all of that good stuff. Please share with us what are some other forms of disrespect?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's several forms, and I'll
Thanks.
preference it by saying, keeping in mind, I think from a man's perspective, we equate respect with love. So our love language is typically it's a need of respect. How you admire us, how you see us, how you respond to us. And so, with that being said, I would say several forms, and then we'll talk a little bit about each of them very quickly. Manipulation, I think, is a form of disrespect. When a man picks up that you are manipulating him, whether it's you're trying to turn him to do something well, or whether it's you have you're trying to be slick per se, lack for a better word, and he's picking up. Okay, she's trying to be slick. You ever heard the joke where a man makes, okay, you shift your tone, and he said, okay, what you want? What
Right.
you want? Because you have positive manipulation.
Absolutely. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I think
Positive.
yeah, positive manipulation. Me and my wife was chatting about that. What's the motive? I think we use it all the time. We use it with our kids. If you get A's and B's, you make the honor roll, we'll do this. We'll
Right.
get
That's
this.
right.
So it's positive manipulation.
Right.
But I think manipulation, that's a form of disrespect that you either don't possess or not express the communication skill to have a difficult conversation,
Mm,
that you may not value the fact that we can talk. We can look eye to eye, and we can respectfully maybe disagree, that
mm,
we can see the difference in opinions and yet still remain one, that
mm,
we can value something different, that you don't see the opportunity for that, so you're figuring out a way to manipulate me to either see your way,
mm,
agree with you,
mhm,
or give you what you want. So manipulation, I think that's one form of disrespect. Another one I say is minimum celebration.
Mm,
That depend upon the man love language, but every man I believe loves affirmation. It may just look different per man, whatever that is, but somewhere in the course of regular interaction, regular patterns, I think he needs to feel balanced celebration,
mm,
that you value him, that you see him, you see his efforts,
mm.
you see his sacrifice, you see how he provides, whatever the case may be, whatever it is, you see how he handles the children.
Yes.
Minimum celebration. When I pick up that you are withholding
Mm.
affirmation from me,
Oh,
when I pick up that you're doing it out of obligation versus honor,
mm-hmm.
that
Oh, this is
your
good.
honor has left me, but I can feel the obligation. And I think that leans into another form of disrespect. I would say minimum execution.
Mm,
Yeah, the things I used to do easy, things I used to do regularly. Now there is a trend. You have to ask me more to do them, whatever it may be. Cleaning, hanging out with me, having conversations with me, watching my favorite movie. I notice there's something that is shifted in the relationship where I see and I feel the minimum is at play. The
mm.
last, I think, are real critical as forms of disrespect. Competing and comparison. When you compare me to another, you
Yes.
compare me to an ex, when you compare me to a brother, a father, your father.
Mhm.
Um, I heard one couple argue, and I heard a lady say, if my daddy saw he roll over in his grave, I said, oh my God, we can't retract that. Um, and then, so comparison,
Mm.
for putting me in a situation, because men, we have egos.
Right.
So try not to interact with me where you force me to compete in an unhealthy manner, because I'm competitive by nature,
Right.
and, but not in an unhealthy manner, which can be tied into that manipulation.
Mm.
So that comparison, and then lastly, I would say a form of disrespect, unteachableness. That
Mm.
at one stage in a relationship you were teachable, at at one stage in the relationship, I had your ear,
Okay.
that you valued my instructions, not just my opinion, my instructions.
Mm.
Because a man that has your heart, a man that loves you, he will never instruct you as if he's instructing a child,
Mhm.
but he may come across instructional because he's a leader at his core. So he's directional as a leader. So he's not looking for a lot of resistance, not
Mhm.
a lot of negative opinion without thought. And so it takes skills. I think one of the things we talked about last time, the skills it takes.
Yes.
It takes skills to interject. It takes skills to pull on his heart. But if a man is open to you, he want to hear everything you got to say because he
Mhm.
value you. He know you mean them well. Your history. That's why patterns are critical. Your history tells me you mean me well.
Oh,
Your
nice.
history tells me that you honor me, that you value me. But so I think those are some, not all, but those are key forms I think of how we may interpret disrespect from my loved one, from my spouse, from my wife, from my girlfriend.
Mm, nice. So when we talk about disrespect, one of the things that come to mind is a lot of times, sometimes women have friends, that they love, to bounce things off of,
Yeah,
and then sometimes friends, family members, let's take it beyond friends, mamas, sisters, aunts, females,
yeah,
um, may not always understand their place, um,
Yeah.
in someone's relationship.
Yeah.
Um, Talk about that as we're talking about disrespect. Um,
Woo!
on
Yeah.
that a little bit.
Yeah. I think as early on in a relationship, as much as possible, or even if there has been a breach and you're restoring and you're rebuilding, I think being on the same page with who holds what place and what depth of communication you may have with an individual. I think for both parties, we have to create safe spaces
Mhm.
because a man will give you everything if I can trust you.
Mhm.
Can you can you handle my secret?
Mhm.
Can you handle my secret when you're mad at me?
Right.
Can
Right.
you handle my secret? Watch this, when I was wrong, but you got my secret.
Ooh.
Will it come out then? Will you inform your sister who really don't care for me that much?
Oh,
Will
good.
you inform your mother? Will you be in agreement with your mother when I was wrong? Though when you forgive me, mama ain't forgave
Absolutely.
me, sister ain't forgave me, best friend ain't forgave me. And most of the time we learn these lessons by trial and error.
Right.
But I think early on, in agreement, agreeing to what depth do we share. And I think respectfully, something that me and my wife talked about, I think that helped us was we asked each other about our confidants. That if there is ever an
Nice.
individual we need to communicate, need to ask questions, we're in a frustrated moment and need to communicate. Can we talk to this person? But can we talk to them respectfully? That I'll never uncover you and I'll never not tell both sides of the story.
That's good.
See, that's respect there. That, and you have to have self-awareness that I can lay out a situation. This is another key that just came to me. I can lay out a situation, making sure that a person can be objective.
Okay.
Is your sister or your mother? Because it's the opposite. Can your sister, your mother are connected? Can they not be biased because you're their sister and their daughter?
Absolutely.
Um, and then the flip side of that, you got some sisters and some mothers who the daughter's always wrong, and the husband he
Right.
can't do no wrong. So you got the flip side of that. But having inner circle of people who can see your blind spots,
Mm,
who may know you very well, that can say to you, I can see how he responded like that. I can see why he got upset. I can see why he's a little different. Distance, your tone and how you said that. If you said that to him, how you explained to me that you said that,
right.
that would separate you. So I think early on you have to agree. How far do we go? What do we say? Who do we talk to? And to what dimension?
Mm,
Yeah, I think that's key.
good. That's good. So, as you were talking, I think it's very important to have, like you said, people in your life that are not going to be biased.
Mm,
Just because people, may be in our lives, it does not mean that we give them the liberty,
right.
to be honest.
Yeah.
But I believe that if we have, somebody that we say as a friend, I believe that a friend should be able to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you're a friend, most of the time you know that friend up and down, and that friend knows you. So even
Absolutely.
if you have a tendency to cause the story to lean a little bit,
Yeah.
a friend will be able to say, "Now
Right.
now I know how you
Yeah.
probably said that, or how you, possibly addressed that." And so
Yeah.
I think that's key when we're talking about, the disrespect,
Mm,
to a man, because I believe that it's nothing like, and I've seen it, through the years, inside,
mhm,
outside of the church, where a man has to silently deal
mm,
with family, and take down to keep the peace.
yeah.
And so when we talk about, forms of disrespect, I think it's important that we understand that there are repercussions
Mm,
to disrespect. And
yeah.
most of the time, we as women, one of the things that we harp on is, he just won't talk. I can't get him to open up. I can't, he's quiet, this, that, and third. But at the same time, if when he talks, we already know, then it's no sense in him talking, and I'm thinking
Yeah.
about, situations within my own marriage. My husband would say, well, it's no sense in asking me when you already have all of the answers about what you're asking me about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm asking him, but at the same time, I'm telling him everything that I think that I did. So, he would say, well, I mean, I really don't see any need to talk because you
Yeah.
have all of the answers.
Yeah.
And even in that, it closes and it shuts off, communication.
Yeah.
And that's something that we as women tend to value.
Yeah.
We love, the communication, the hearing men talk. We want to know what your thoughts are. And
Yeah.
so, but it does require a level of maturity, to be able to hear each other's thoughts. And that's, on both sides.
Yeah.
Another thing that you mentioned is, you mentioned minimum celebration, and you
Yeah.
talked about, obligation.
Oh
So
yeah.
were you saying that women may feel obligated to
Oh yeah.
celebrate a man rather than genuinely celebrating him? And then I
Uh-huh.
do know that women who, let's just say, maybe in the church, maybe different a lot of things, we may do routinely because
Mhm.
it's the right thing to do, because I hold a position in the church, because I'm seen doing this or I'm seen doing that.
Mhm.
But I believe that it's important that we do things genuinely,
Yeah.
because, as you said earlier, a man will recognize when
Yeah.
there's basically little effort, or it's just a thing, something routine
Yeah.
that's being done. Talk about this, Pastor Day.
Yeah, I think when you study interpersonal communication, and I know we probably all know this and have heard it before, the smallest part of percentage is actually the actual words that you say. The larger part was the tone you said it in. But the biggest part, which was last time I researched, it was in high 60s, low 70s percentile, is your body communication, your body language. What do I read from you? So you mentioned something about routine.
Mhm.
I think pausing to be present in the routine is key. I can go through the motions because I can feel the life of what you say and what you do. You love me, girl, I love you. Versus if I pause, now girl, I love you now. It's a difference
Right.
when I'm present. So you have to practice being present, practice making that eye contact, practice making that communication face to face. It's bringing that life to the routine, because the routine is good. Doesn't mean that it's bad. You just got to make sure that though it's routine, the routine feels new.
Hmm.
It feels fresh.
That's
And
good.
that takes skill. That takes practice. You said something, Lady White. I want to comment on
Okay.
when sometime when men may shut down when women are talking because they want to interact with us. I think sometime um, because men, I was sharing with how we like to instruct, we like to teach, we like to communicate that way. I think women have to keep in mind, do you come across as if you're asking me for an answer or you're asking me to agree with you?
Wow. Oh, wow.
Most men are looking to provide an answer because that speaks to the man in me.
Okay.
But if you ask me, you ever ask him, what you think? And then when he tell you what he think, you disagree with what he said. And he looking at, why you ask me? So you now this is the key now. I'm about to say that you really didn't want to answer, you wanted agreement. So what
You.
happens is the next time you present something, you've already given me your pattern. So I perceive you're coming to me for agreement, not my answer, which may devalue what I have to offer. And all this happened in a matter of seconds, quickly. And
So,
before you know it, there's a routine of how you come to me that somewhere psychologically, because this is the thing, because women typically express outward more,
right.
men express internally more.
Okay.
So ladies that are listening, keep in mind that means as men, we probably have a lot of conversations in our head to ourselves. So she don't want to, she don't really want to know what she ain't asking about. She just asks she not then now she just trying to manipulate me. She really don't know what she really don't want to know what I got to say. She really don't. And if I disagree with her, if I don't agree. So I think the woman having the skill with interpersonal communication, my body language, my tone, my facial expression, my mood, how receptive am I? Am I engaged? Am I welcoming what you have to say with my body language, with my persona? Or does my mind, does my eyes, does my mouth say, hurry up and get it done?
So does that say I'm just asking you out of respect?
Right. Or out of obligation.
Or out of obligation to ask you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you need to keep the communication lines open because we got relationship. But I really feel like you really don't want to hear what I got to say because it may not be what you want to hear. But since you're trying to work on a relationship, I can feel you're asking me this out of obligation instead of out of curiosity. So for a man, you didn't pull on the hero in me.
Mm.
You didn't pull on the giant in me. You didn't pull on the distinction in me. Because if you're mine, per se, lack of a better words, and I'm yours, I need you to make me feel like my voice is the only voice that matter, at least in the moment.
Yes. Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Wow. So I'm thinking about and I'm processing this, disrespect piece.
Mm.
And so let's talk about, instances, of disrespect.
Mm.
Share with us, Pastor Dave, because I know you're probably full of stories and examples and that type of thing. Make it plain tonight. Share with us an instance of disrespect.
Mm. I'll never forget one, ladies, and this is under the umbrella of public disrespect. And so I would say, just for food for thought, always be aware of your surroundings.
Nice.
Always be aware of your facial expressions. Be
Nice.
careful not to walk ahead of him as if you're done with him. Be careful not to walk behind him as go ahead, I ain't studying what you're saying. As much as possible, try to remain at his side.
Oh,
When
nice.
we're partners. True story. I was in a service in another state, and there was a politician that was visiting that particular church, and him and his wife was there, and he was sharing information with the congregation, and it may have been 400 or 500 people in the building. As he was sharing, he kept stumbling over his words. As he stumbled over his words, his wife kept correcting him, kept correcting him to the degree where she actually got up, got the mic, and kind of interpreted what he meant, over talked him, and you could feel him shrink. And he was a very large man, very tall man. You could feel him shrink. Not only did she do that, but the tone she did it in, the tone she committed. She didn't come across like she was a safe space, making sure her husband didn't mess up because she didn't want him to look bad. The tone in which she did it was very corrective.
Oh, wow.
As almost as if you're wrong. Let me help you with this because you're about to make us look bad. It was a very corrective tone from how she communicated her verbiage, and how she even looked at him. So in my mind, I said, "Oh my God, I hope they make it after this," because it was that bad. That was one instance. Several instances where I've seen competing voices. This is the opposite extreme. So in one situation, I saw the man shrink, though he was a very large man.
Mm.
Another instance where I've seen competing voices, because depending upon if you're dealing with a strong man, he probably not going to let you overtalk him too much. And so you could tell they were fighting. Now they weren't physically fighting, but if you could get hit with words, they both had some scars,
Ooh.
because you could tell she was saying, "Now you ain't finna just handle me and tell me what to do. You gonna hear me." And you can tell it just his tone. That woman, you ain't finna be talking over me, and nobody would bow, nobody would submit one to another.
Mm.
And so before you know it, you saw the body language and the tone that really express, I don't know if they respect one another. I don't even know if they like each other with the way they talk like that. So those are two instances that I've seen how you communicate publicly. How do you honor publicly? Now,
It's good.
a key, be very careful, ladies, that you don't honor publicly and you have a pattern of private dishonor.
Mm.
See, that falls under that umbrella of manipulation
Mm-hmm. That's good.
and obligation.
Mm-hmm.
So you are trying, but I don't have no honor at home when I'm by myself. And then in the public, you're trying to act like you're an angel. That's how I interpret that. You're an angel in public. And at home, you're giving me a fit. So you got to be careful, because I'm interpreting that as that's manipulative, because now you're trying to present something to the public that's not really real.
Yes.
All that falls under that disrespect in different instances.
Oh my goodness.
I've seen that. I've seen that with couples who I knew were having private issues. And I'm wondering why they so nice in public. I'm shocked. So nice. They are not that nice, you know. What's they're looking like that? Something ain't right about that, you know. And that happens.
So that's that make it make sense, right? Make it make sense. So when we're talking about these different forms of disrespect, how is a man perceived then if he has a wife who has disrespected him continuously in public, not in public? How is that man perceived amongst his family, friends, co-workers?
Yeah. It's interesting. You say that's a powerful question, Lady White. He's definitely not perceived as a man of authority. He's definitely not perceived as a man who's a leader. He's definitely not perceived as a man that is valuable, probably a pushover, probably controlled.
Yes.
But watch this. I think what's even more dangerous than the perception is most people never tell you the perception.
Oh God.
So you're perceived that way by many, but most people never have the courage or the care,
My God,
to pull you to the side to say what's happening, man, because it seemed like something going on here. So it could impact how people. This is another thing with that, based upon the man's role. It could impact how people hear him if he has a position of authority, but he's not perceived of authority and influence. So let's say he's a CEO, or let's say he's a pastor, or let's say he is a politician, where his role is interchangeable, where he has to engage and communicate and guide and lead, but people publicly are aware of what has taken place. it can affect the confidence of the people that he lead and how they see him.
Absolutely.
To expound upon that even more, the people that they may tell how they see him. So it has a ripple effect of his presentation
Absolutely.
to a congregation, to a city. Let me bring it home.
Absolutely.
It could affect how your kids see him as a leader.
Talking
It could
good.
affect how your kids never come to him for instructions.
Oh,
Never come. And you've heard the term before, I'm sure. We can tell she wear the pants in the house.
yeah.
And kids pick up on that stuff. They observe and they hear that. So it could affect how he has leverage with his kids and respect with his kids based upon how that woman or that lady treats and honor him publicly. You could train the kids how to see him based upon how you see him and how you handle him. So it has a ripple effect.
Oh man, that's powerful. I'm thinking about even beyond, and you know, sometimes as parents, as husband and wife, you know, there's a responsibility to understand that it's, even though it seems it is just us, but it's not just us.
Right.
You know, there are other people who are connected, other people who are watching. And then in the instances where we have children, you know, how we as women honor, you know, that man in the house is very important. It's key, because if we have daughters, they have the propensity to treat a man the exact same way that we're treating their father, or they will be dominated by a man because they don't feel like we should have been treating their father that way.
Yes.
If we
Yes.
have sons, then our sons run the propensity of being weak in relationships,
Yes.
putting up with what has been patterned before them, or they too have the propensity to be dominant, to
Yep.
dominate a woman.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about that, Pastor Dave.
Absolutely. I'll be very honest and very transparent with you. In my 20s, and I had no idea, because me and my mom, we had a good relationship,
Mhm.
but we did not have the best intimate relationship that I would have desired. So I didn't know until I was confronted with it that I was looking for my mother.
Yes. Nice.
And so I was drawn to the strength of a woman, yet without having space to step up to lead, because I didn't see it. I didn't know how. And so I didn't know I was looking for mama early on. So I
Absolutely.
was looking for that dominant. I was looking for that strong voice. Now, this is the killer. You hate it, but you're drawn to it.
Oh, oh,
And that's the confusion. That's the inner confusion. And sometimes that can cause friction in a marriage, that the man may be drawn to a dominant voice, but can't stand the dominant voice at the same time.
at the same time.
So he's looking for his mother because of what he lacked from his mother, but at the same time, he can't stand that overbearing, strong voice. So it's a love-hate relationship. And sometimes we're not aware this is what's going on, because I'm drawn to what was missing, yet what was missing actually reflect probably what I had, which was that dominating voice.
Mm, 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 mm. Oh my God. That is powerful. That's powerful. So mm, I'm thinking about so many things, especially when, you know, when you talk about, you know, looking for mama, but at the
Yeah.
same time despising who
Yes.
you are.
Yeah.
And is that attributed to, because there's a different type of love for mama, a
Mm.
different type of patience for mama.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
when we're married, now we have all of those intimate things and all of that, let's say entanglements, all of those entanglements. And
Yeah.
so now that is the difference wherein and which may make men say what you often hear, you ain't my mama. You're not
Right.
my mama.
Right.
Although, women clap back with, well, if you act like so, I wouldn't have to be your mama.
Right. That's the comparison now. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and that's powerful, because sometimes it's so easy to confuse those roles.
Yeah.
So for me, I had to help rear my younger
Mm.
brother. And
Mhm.
so, and I just say
Mm.
I believe that I was already independent by nature. And
Got you.
so, taking care of, my younger brother, making sure he was good, um, and then also being, the one that a lot of people came to.
Yeah.
Younger people, older people confided in me, just that being in those types of roles. So then
Mhm.
when you get over into relationships, it's so easy to try to mold a man into what you need him to be. So for me,
Mm.
my father
Woo.
was not in the picture. And so I believe that early on, let me say, I know that early on, I was guilty of
Mm.
trying to put the pieces together
Got you.
for someone to be whole, to make up for everything that I had missed. And
Yeah.
so in doing that, then you cross lines. And like you say, a man, he wants to be the hero. He
Yeah.
wants to be the one to come in and save your day. And so
That's
for
right.
me, it took having to readjust and to get out of that role of putting everything on my back and
Wow.
carrying it,
Yeah.
and then being frustrated because I'm carrying something now and I'm weighted down and it's too much weight
Yeah.
when he never asked me to do that. I was
Wow.
always in front of him
Yeah.
instead of beside him. And
Woo.
so this is how the weight shifted on me because I took it on, not
Yeah.
because it was placed there. And
Mm.
so as we're talking to women, it's imperative to understand how to fall back, how to
Mm.
step back. We cannot honestly say that the man will not do it when we're always running to do it.
Yeah.
By
Yeah.
nature, I'm not sure if it's attributed to trust or,
Mm.
I got you, I'm here too, but
Mhm.
it's imperative that we learn to fall back because
Mhm.
if we're in front, then we're the catch-all.
Yeah.
And if we're not beside him, you understand where we
Mm.
need to be,
Mm.
then we're going to pick that up and
Mm.
it's no sense in getting upset when we
Mm.
feel like the load is on us because we
Mm.
don't know what he can handle when we've never allowed him to handle it.
Mm.
So I believe that as a part of trusting in who we're with is trusting that the man can handle it. And
Yeah.
if not, we've sent up enough prayers to know that we'll be okay. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And it's a part of, you know, our making. You
Yeah.
know, trust is even developed in when we think he may drop the ball or when he drops the ball.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that now we have to distrust him
That's so
because
good.
maybe he's dropped the ball, understanding that he's we're both being made and we're both being shaped and we're so dropping the ball is
Mm.
good for both of us. not just for him.
That's so good. Something I wrote down here while you were talking that came to me. I think it challenges both parties, the man and the woman, to be so aware of their histories,
Mm,
because you marry one another's history. But the
mm,
challenge I've learned is oftentimes histories are hidden until they show up in the present.
Jesus.
So all of your history, like everything you said, I can see it from different angles. From if you had a great father that reflected what you should expect, or if you had to fill in the gap and become independent. So now my history is accustomed to molding, to rearing, to shaping, to adding to the male figure. What's the thin line of that for ladies who are raising sons by
Mhm.
themselves?
Yes.
So it's a balance that's, to be very honest, it's not easy. It's
Right.
not easy to obtain. The reality is we don't get it right. But I think the greater we are in terms of where we are in that journey of self-awareness, I think the more we can determine how to respond properly.
Mm,
That am I too independent? Am I too strong? I love your wording. Is this a moment I need to fall back?
yes.
Something you said that was so profound, not destroying, but being able to, now you're dealing with the level, the capacity that of range of skills and emotions and knowledge that I have that's compartmentalized. That let me pull out patience now, because I know I normally respond like this. So let me pull out patience so I can respond like this, because I'm building this way. I'm learning this way. I'm learning how to show that I trust you. And I got to be patient,
That's good.
because a man may not move at your pace.
Absolutely.
So this is another thing with the brothers, with how we think in comparison to ladies. We typically think very methodically, one at a time, in sequence. You all are very skilled, though we're big picture. You all are very skilled. That's why you all be cooking, cleaning, changing the baby on the telephone, washing the dishes,
Right.
getting the mail, helping kids with the homework,
Right.
all at the same time. We got to help with the homework. And okay, when I get done, then I'm gonna take out the garbage. Okay,
Right.
okay, when I get done with that, then I'm gonna go to the store and pick up the bread. But you all just have that capacity with how your brain works in comparison to how we're wired. So awareness, I think, trains us how to handle one another's histories. That's often hid until it sticks its head up. And most of the time, we see the negative before we see the positive.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And in building trust.
Mm,
So when we build trust, one of the things that we have to be mindful of is that when we trust each other, we have to know that that man, if he is a mature man,
mhm.
is not doing anything that's going to cause us detriment. And then we have to give each other the space
Yeah,
to drop the ball. Because
that's
a
it.
lot of times, if the truth be told, let me just say it like that. If the truth be told, we as women, we drop the ball.
Mm,
You
mm,
know,
mm.
but I believe it's how we process it. We
Yeah,
process it differently than when he drops the ball. But at the same time, we've dropped the ball too.
yeah.
Most of the times, um, if we drop the ball and our spouse, our significant other says something to us, then it's going to either be an emotional fit
Woo.
because I don't want to hear you say I dropped the ball.
Right, right.
Or it's going to be, I don't want to hear that. And then we'll chop it up and put it on everything that we run, that we do in the run of
Woo.
the day,
That's
which
good.
is still no excuse,
Yeah.
for dropping the ball. Or we're going to shift blame and
Hmm.
blame the man for being the reason that we
Mhm.
dropped the ball. And
Mhm.
so I think we have to be, very mindful again and give each other the opportunity, because the ball is going to be dropped
Yeah.
in relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way around it. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Again, it's just there are opportunities for growth. And so if we embrace, the opportunities for growth, then we should really never get stale. Like you talked about last broadcast. If we're embracing those opportunities for growth
Yeah.
and we're giving people the opportunity to grow
Yeah.
and growing while they're growing,
Yeah.
then we should not, get stale.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that while the other one is growing, we're growing as well. Even if
Mm.
that growth means I'm allowing you to grow.
Yeah. God, you said so much, Prophet. You said so much, lady. But if I can piggyback and build upon that, what you just said, the opportunity to grow, um, having, and this will be probably the safest space and
Mhm.
expression of great healing, is that when we can give one another space for our imperfections,
Yes.
and to acknowledge without accusation.
Oh,
That if we can acknowledge individually, yet acknowledge together, imagine the healing if I can acknowledge where I dropped the ball, and babe, where I felt you dropped the ball, and you can acknowledge where you dropped the ball, and where you kind of felt I dropped the ball. Now there's no competing, there's only complimenting. And so there's space for my imperfection, because most of us are only disappointed because of unmet expectation.
absolutely.
So if I expected your perfection and then I came across imperfection, I'm highly disappointed. But
Yes.
if we can have regular conversations of acknowledging our imperfection, acknowledging we're growing,
Yes.
acknowledging, even we're growing at different paces,
Yes.
but it's okay, babe. I got you. You got me.
Absolutely.
I'm strong over here. You strong over there. That way, if I feel that we're acknowledging without accusation, because that accusation hangs around in that blame arena.
Mm.
So if somehow your language leans towards something that you're targeting that I did wrong or let you down in, based upon your tone, my defenses are going to go up.
Mm.
And then I'm going to isolate, and then I'm going to be silent. And if it keeps coming up, I'm going to find myself performing for somebody else.
Mm.
So I need you to let me be imperfect, not immature, but
Oh,
imperfect.
that's good.
Not immature, but imperfect.
Mm, that's
Mm,
good. That's good. Not immature, but imperfect. Oh, that's
imperfect.
powerful.
Yeah.
That is powerful. And so when we're talking about and so you do realize that we've been on one question that is good. So when we talk about, just, allowing each other to grow,
Mm,
one of the things, that comes to mind is we must always have our gaze fixed in our own home,
mm,
because it's so easy to go by sight,
yes.
where it looks like somebody else husband does this for them. It looks like they have the latest car, the latest, the best house, the most manicured lawn. It looks like their children, are this. It looks like, and all of those things are based on sight.
Yeah.
But it's so imperative that we move beyond sight and have a vision
Ooh, that's good.
for
Yeah.
our own homes,
Yeah.
and of course, I think about, people perish
Mm, mm,
for lack of, they don't have a vision.
yeah.
We wonder why we're dying.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's because we're going off of sight rather
Yeah.
than having a vision. Sight
Mm,
is always going to cause us to see what we want.
yeah.
And most of the time, sight is when we're just looking, it's not something that we're having to work for. We can just see it, we can
Yeah.
admire it, we can desire it, we
Yeah.
can covet it, we can do all of that with sight, but
Yeah.
there's no real effort
Yeah.
with what we're seeing. But when
Mm,
we have vision for our spaces,
mm,
our home, our significant others, when we have vision,
mm,
then now the work begins. And
mm.
I would even submit that sometimes you have to have vision and pray until the other person gets vision. And sometimes, who's to say they don't have vision?
Yeah.
Maybe we're so entangled in our own vision and what we think that
Yeah.
we haven't considered the
Yeah.
other person's vision. Jump in, jump
Yeah.
in.
Yes. Something you said I think was really key. What we see by sight. I think too we have to remember oftentimes when we're looking outside, most of the time I would say, we see edited versions.
Oh,
Yeah. See, the work, you mentioned the vision. The work is always behind the scenes.
absolutely.
It's so most people never see the work, they see the result. But when we're looking from the outside, we see edited versions. And most of the time, the edited versions of relationships, the edited versions is people always show the best part. They don't show the withered hand. They don't always show all of their reality, but they show the part that they can control that they want you to see.
Oh,
So you do see the car that they're driving, but you don't know if they're catching the payment every month.
that's right.
You do see the house they live in, but if they don't have vision where they can measure their success based upon where they are and what's success for them, we will see the edited version and we don't know if they're house poor. They got a house, but they can't travel. They got a house, but they can't do nothing. They got a huge house, but
Right.
they have no savings. So we don't know when we see edited versions. That's why we have to be very careful that we are not impressed by what we look at, and then we inquire, get close enough to inquire, and then keep in mind our own journeys
So,
that if there is a complete picture, if there is a mature picture, keeping in mind that much work has been invested to acquire that result. That ain't overnight. That's years of over and over and over impressing and getting it right and falling and space for imperfection and arguments and forgiveness and apologies and getting it right and getting it wrong and getting it right. So now you have a season, a more mature picture that I can see, wow, what did y'all go through to acquire that? Then I can hear the story or the work behind the scenes.
oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Ooh, when you say an edited version, the thing that continues to come to my mind is my youngest son. He will always say, "Oh, they Photoshop that."
Right,
Photoshop that.
right, right.
So we have it just puts me in the mind of the equipment, today
Mm,
that allows us to Photoshop.
mm,
Even when you look on social media, there's so much out there that allows you to do the makeup cam, that allows you to see yourself in this light, to see yourself in that light. And so all of those things can easily
Mm.
contribute to, I would say, the fairy tale that
Yes.
as women sometimes tend to live in. And so those fairy tales, sometimes we're not giving everything in our marriage because we're still waiting on our husbands or our significant others to mount the horse and come as the knight in shining armor, and
Yeah.
he's already the knight.
Woo!
You just have to have the vision to see the knight who's
Yes.
already in our life.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and I know that, not being hard on women, but sometimes our fantasy worlds prevent us from really appreciating fantasy
Mm.
worlds, looking over the fence, not being able to get past how we were raised. Even if we had a solid father,
Right.
it doesn't negate the growth that we're going to have to experience in our own relationships.
Yes.
There is still a process to be had that's
Yes.
going to build us and to do, because even if our father put the most valuable things in us,
Mm.
we still have to grow. We still have not yet arrived.
Yes.
Our fathers were not there, and
Yes.
we're damaged. We've been damaged. We've been hurt. Take it from me. We
Mm.
still
Yeah.
have to grow. We still have
Yes.
to be better. If we take on and we marry somebody, we have a responsibility to get healed, to do
Yes.
whatever we need to do, because just because we've been hurt does not mean 30 years later
Mm.
that we can ride that wave. We have a responsibility to
That's
that
good.
man, to those children, without excuse. Yes, we
Absolutely.
need space to heal and all of that stuff, but at the end of the day, we still have a responsibility, and
Mm.
we owe it to that man to be at our dead level best. If not, we are forever going to be reliving history instead
Absolutely.
of making new history
Yes.
who we're with.
Mm.
Speak to that, Pastor Day.
Absolutely. It ain't nothing much to be said after that. I agree. I think we have to settle the relationship as a journey, and we're always evolving, always growing. Never feel like I arrive. Always be looking for how do I challenge the best part of me to
Mhm.
discover the better, and every day is different.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Paul, from a biblical perspective, said we die daily.
Yes.
So he had some awareness that as successful as I was on yesterday,
Yes.
this is a new day. So we're not the same every day. Our mood ain't the same every day.
Right.
Our attitude ain't the same every day.
Absolutely.
That's real. We're human beings. So I think we have to posture ourselves to keep growing, keep evolving. And then lastly, I'll say, keep in mind that the scripture says the two become one.
Oh, that's good.
I think that's the journey. I don't know, it's going to sound crazy, but I don't know if we fully ever become one while we're becoming one.
Right.
Fully. We become one while we're still becoming one
Oh,
because it's new and fresh every day. So,
that's good.
yeah.
Well, gosh, I cannot believe that an hour has gone by that quickly. Man, great
Mm,
conversation again,
mm,
Pastor Dave. You have
thank you.
blessed us again on tonight. And so I'm going to ask you if you would just give us some final thoughts. And when you give us your final thoughts, I'm going to come back just a moment. And then we're going to prepare to end for tonight.
Yeah. Two things I think I'll say keep in mind authenticity, I think, is a combination of victories and scars. I think when you look inside of every relationship, you can see the healing, but you can also see the pain. I think that's the beauty of it. And then those around us, those that are in our inner circle, those that we lean on for advice and that we trust, keep in mind, though they love us, love does not equate qualifications.
Oh,
So just because they love us may not mean that they're qualified to speak into that dimension of our life and relationship.
goodness,
So
goodness.
God bless you.
Oh, awesome. Well, again, thank you, Pastor Dave, and tell your beautiful wife we said hello.
Yeah, do.
It's always good to have you. Such
Thank you.
profound information on tonight. I want to thank those of you that took out the opportunity to join us again. If you're new here and this is your first time hearing the Candid Conversations Part 2, I want to encourage you to go back and listen to Candid Conversations Part 1. And even if you have heard Part 1 and Part 2, I want to challenge you to listen to both of those again. I guarantee you, you are going to be blessed. And I'm sure that you're going to capture something new that maybe you didn't hear the first time. And so thank you all again for joining us for Candid Conversations with Chenille. Good night.